in the corrections technology space by chance. When we were a very young company, we did work wherever we could find it. And a friend of ours had a contract with the local prison service that he couldn't fulfill. So we got the opportunity to help them with a very small piece of work around image processing. And from there, we got to know them, and an opportunity came up to bid on a contract to solve a problem around identification of prisoners. And we were able to implement digital technology using image processing and touchscreens. And it was very successful. The project went very well. And with our interaction, with being in the prison, meeting the staff, working with them, we just got hooked. We felt it was such worthwhile work and interesting in comparison to some of the other jobs that we had. So we just got drawn more into it, and we were presented with great challenges from our local prison service, and we continued to bid on work and be successful. And that was our start. Our key objectives, really, our mission is to help people in the justice system have better outcomes and better experiences. And we can do that at many levels. Initially, we were committed to helping the prisoners themselves and their outcomes, which we do. So our key aim is to reduce reoffending. Also, we started to learn that it's very important to support staff as well, because the whole system is like a community, and you can't focus on one part of it and get the best outcome. So we then understood that we had to apply the technology to help staff in their job as well. And also we found that we could create improved relationships through using technology to improve communication with people. I think there's so many opportunities, particularly now as we've come through the pandemic and people are more aware of technology and how it can change things for the better. So for example, in probation, there's a great opportunity to change the way the service is delivered. We saw examples of people using technology to do remote supervision when the offices closed down, and that provided a way that the service could continue to provide support and supervision services to people remotely. There's great opportunity in the service in general, thinking about reducing reoffending. We gather so much data. The digital data is accessible in a way that it wasn't on paper-based systems. And we can use that data to see what works and focus more on those areas within the service to get better results. We can also help people because technology can provide an individualized service much more easily than conventional methods. So, for example, if someone has specific needs, we can address those through the technology. So we transition from a service that is one size fits all to one that is focused on people-centric, and addressing the specific needs of each individual. So, and there's so many things. I could go on, like the application of AI, just thinking about the cost of the service, of services that are delivered by professionals, individuals, and it's so difficult to get those people in contact with the service users. So AI is advancing so that we can now have things like expert bots to help people on careers advice or support them with mental health issues such as depression. And these are all available, in wider society. And we have the opportunity to apply those in context of corrections, to provide these services in a viable, economically a viable way. I think the biggest issue implementing technology, really it is a change process that you're implementing into an organization. And as humans, we're frightened of change, and we will resist it. So it's a similar challenge to introducing change in most environments. In order to do that successfully, I think there's a number of key issues that we have to address. The first one being that the purpose of the change has to be aligned with the needs of the business, and clearly visible to everyone, so everyone understands, why are we doing this? What outcome do we hope to achieve? So, for example, during the pandemic, we had two very strong examples of that. In the prison sector, people were isolated and they couldn't connect with their families in the outside world. So the introduction of technology helped solve that problem. Therefore, everybody got behind it and made it work. The same in probation, using technology to maintain supervision meetings when the offices were closed. Everyone could see why that needed to happen. So I think that's the first thing. There has to be alignment. Then commitment. I believe that the senior leadership team has to be on board and see why this needs to happen and be fully behind it and support it. And support it by applying resources, by making their key people available to get involved in the project, and giving people authority to make decisions along the way, when challenges arise. So they have the authority to resolve and overcome the barriers to the project moving forward. And I think another key area is engagement, bringing everyone along with the change. The people on the ground that are going to be impacted in using the technology need to be involved in the process of the design and the implementation of the solution, so that they can input their specific needs and their knowledge of how things work. And without getting that into the project, it's likely that it won't actually work for the people who need to use it. So they provide great insights that need to be captured in the process. And I think things go wrong when these things don't happen. So, for example, we would have experienced when there wasn't enough staff engagement, that staff were maybe suspicious of the change, and then they don't get involved, they don't contribute, and they may actually, do things that don't enable the project to go forward. So they don't do things that they're expected to do, or they don't make it easy for those things to happen. Whereas if they can see the benefits for them in their role, they will definitely get on board and be helpful and make a good contribution. So that's a key one. On a practical level, like for example, in a prison context where you have maybe high security risk, there are a lot of security processes that have to be taken into consideration, and even they can slow the project down. If you don't have the experience to understand that these processes are necessary and have to happen on a day-to-day basis, you could find that a project that you expected to happen in 6 months could take 18 months. So it's important to build that into the planning process. Simple things like having staff available to escort people around the prison, or if a security incident happens, that everything's locked down and everybody just stays where they are and they can't get on with the work that they planned. All these nuances of the things that are part of the nature of doing the business have to be factored in into the project plan. I think from the onset, actually from the planning stage, and that a lot of communication with the agency is required, and it shouldn't be seen as you bring in an expert supplier to do this change for you and deliver it for you. You won't get what you expect. Whereas if you're part of the conversation and you get involved, you have control of the direction and the outcome that you get. We sort of see the impact in ways that you may not expect. So, for example, if you walk around a prison that has been built as a digital prison, or one that has been transformed into a digital prison, the atmosphere can be different than it was previously. So we find that generally the emotions are different in a digital prison. People tend to be a little calmer. There's less negative emotions going around. And we see that in the drop in the amount of violence. So there are less incidents of violence, between prisoners and also between prisoners on staff. We see it in the stress levels of staff. So there would be maybe reduced sickness amongst staff, less people going off on unplanned leave. And we find in practice that staff will want to maybe transfer to the prisons that have the digital solutions, because it's a more welcoming environment to work in and less stressful. So that's what it's, how it can transform a prison. In the community, like we see families, the difference it makes to families, both while people are still in custody and post-release. Because they've been able to stay in contact, those family bonds are maintained, and because the individual is supported, and then they're better ready for release, they're going back into a family unit where the relationships are deep and supportive. And if without that contact, the outcomes can be very different for somebody going back into the community who don't have like a strong support network and people behind them that want to succeed. And then on a level, if we think about the opportunities digital presents for the individual, the ability to build digital skills, to access education, to access self-help materials, helping people build their resilience, and also helping them connect into the community to take advantage of information about accommodation, about healthcare, all the services that they're going to need when they go back into the community. It means when they're released, they have a stronger position to start from, and they're closer to becoming a contributing member of that community that they go back to. So I would say there's many positive impacts. I would also say we've much more research to do in this area to actually validate our observations, to create an evidence base of the specific impacts of digital on people going through the justice systems.